All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a discussion of how an indie author can do a successful Kickstarter. And also, we're going to be talking about The Children of the Gods, which is book one of The Age of Fire. Might be a trilogy, but we'll call it a series for now. It might actually go to tetralogy. We'll talk about that. But this is a book that I'm very excited to talk about because I recently listened to Children of the Gods by my guest here, S.A. Klopfenstein. And I have a bunch of really wonderful things to say about the experience. But we do want to give you some insights because Stephen actually has done a Kickstarter for this. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to talk about how an indie author can accomplish something like this. Because a lot of people these days are actually thinking about going this route. So I want to hear all about your experience, Stephen. And I thank you for being here and for being willing to share your experience with successfully doing a Kickstarter for your book series. This is your eighth book that you have published, so you are not new to this. But is this the first time you've done it via Kickstarter?
Yeah, this was the first one that got launched. So this wasn't my first Kickstarter, but it
Okay.
was the first new book that I launched from Kickstarter.
Okay.
And I'd done a couple of special editions prior to launching this book.
You had some experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So why would you, let's start with this. Why would you do a Kickstarter for a brand new? Why not just publish it by KDP or Ingram Spark or whatever? Why did you decide to do it this way?
Yeah. One of the biggest things was really just well, there's a bunch of reasons really, but the ability to do a really nice hardcover was something that when I launched my first series, The Shadow Watch, I really wanted a nice hardcover and things like that. And when I launched that one, KDP for paperback was still Create Space, and
Huh.
just kind of went with that route. And predominantly, like in the early years of publishing and stuff, just focused on ebook primarily and Kindle Unlimited, and like expanded to audiobooks. And Kickstarter was really the point that I really started to focus more on physical books, and um, was able to produce a couple of nice leather bound
Hmm.
special editions, and was able to fund that way. And that kind of opened up a new avenue for approaching things to really make a hardcover possible. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, by the way. This is for the Shadow Watch.
That's the Shadow Watch. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. There's some really lovely art inside of this.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's sweet. It's really sweet. This is not the series we're talking about today, though.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
about Children of the
Actually,
Gods. You got
I
copies
have
of
the
that.
mock up for this one, so I can kind of hold that up
Oh,
and
nice.
show it off a little
Okay.
bit. But I just got this a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
please do show
Um,
off. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the version that got funded on Kickstarter, and we have
Wow.
nice dust jacket. The letters are embossed,
And
and
the slipcase comes with it too.
yeah, so people could do one of two ways. They could either fund just the hardcover or get it with the with the book box. That includes this. It includes a full leather bookmark, and
Wow.
a few other little thick pieces of swag, a dragon egg pin, and some cool things to kind of make that a little bit more special.
Oh, I
And
like
so,
it.
yeah, it's got some really cool
Great edges.
drag kind of flame edges and dragon eggs.
In case you couldn't tell, this is a Dragon Rider fantasy, folks. Ooh, I love it. Yeah, Children of the Gods.
Yes, you get the full color
Color
map
map,
there, which is really cool for the
Prince of
Isle of Baltara.
Baltara.
And
Wow,
we got a color illustration, and then
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of black and white illustrations in there as well. And
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so this is the version. And right now, this just has a bunch of blank pages because it's a dummy copy, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we're getting ready to print those off. I've got a bunch of title pages that I'm going to be signing, and those are supposed
Okay.
to arrive any day. So I'm
Oh,
kind of
that's so
itching to get those
exciting.
signed, and then
Yeah.
they'll get printed. And Yeah, for physical copies, being able to do a print run and fund like all for when it's all said and done, I'll be printing 1,500 of these hardcovers,
Okay.
and I think 500 with the book box, something like that. So kind of the interesting thing when you do it and you know it's going to be a series is then it's like, well, it's way more economical to do a big print run like that. And then when you
Yeah.
do a Kickstarter for a book two, you want to have book ones on hand and
Okay.
things like that. So there weren't 1,500 people that backed it, but I kind of got
Yeah. Some extras for
some
when you
extras
jump
for down the
in.
road. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm progressively trying to um, do more physical copies. I've been like building out a Shopify store that
Okay.
I'll be starting to do more stuff with that. And yeah, so the biggest thing is for kind of coming back to your question about why go
Yeah.
about Kickstarter. One, to get a really cool book. A big thing too was just the number of things that you have to do up front that when you publish straight to Kindle Unlimited, it's takes a little bit longer for to kind of make that money back, whether it's editing or cover and formatting. And
Yeah.
uh, you know all those things that go into making a book. And
Yep.
um, so when I initially was thinking about it, I'd seen some other people launch books from Kickstarter, and I'd done a couple of Kickstarters by that point. And so
For
as I
special
was
editions, though. Yeah.
for special editions, yep. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
for this one, I was like, what if we start with this not quite not quite the faux leather ultra special edition, but do something that's still and you see publishers doing this a lot too. Like I just got the Catabasis book that they did a really cool like launch edition for that.
Yeah.
And so you see
Arquam.
publishers doing this as well.
Huh.
And so that's kind of how I wanted to approach it was I want this really cool kind of launch edition that's really nice and has some things that you wouldn't get if you were doing an Ingram Spark um
Gotcha.
hardcover or something like that, and help fund a lot of those upfront costs. And when I went into it, I initially was just like, if I can like make this edition happen and if it helps fund some of my upfront costs, then great. And this one has been my most successful of all the Kickstarters I've done.
Congratulations.
So it ended up as we were getting up to pre-launch, I decided I'd been kind of on the fence whether or not I was going to include the audiobook because I've worked with a publisher before and I'd been in talks with them about maybe doing this one, but they
Yeah.
kind of wanted to wait until the Kindle edition came out and stuff. And so I'd been entertaining the idea of paying for it myself and doing that. And as quite a bit of interest had came during the pre-launch period on Kickstarter and
Yeah.
a bunch of people were following the campaign, I was like, based off of what I've done so far, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'll at least break even if I include the audiobook. And so I went ahead and added that on. And
I'm glad you did because that's how
yeah.
I listen to the book by audiobook. I just want to congratulate you on your narrator. I can't remember his name. Please tell me his name because he did
uh
a fabulous job.
yeah, Tim Campbell.
Tim Campbell. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
he's amazing.
beautiful. Yeah, he's got this resonant voice
Yeah.
that is just this wonderful kind of bass voice, but he's got range with it too. He does a lot of of course, he does different voices for all these different characters.
Yeah,
But
I was
he's
really
just great.
impressed with how he's able to especially do female characters
Yeah,
because he has such that deep resonant voice, but then
yeah.
he can really do female characters in a really I don't just a really nice way that not
Convincing.
everybody
Yeah,
can do.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, convincing doesn't sound I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it can come off almost a little cheesy or something like that, or
Uh-huh.
you can go a little too far. If I did it, I would certainly
Oh, I could
struggle
not
with
do it.
that. And
Yeah,
so I
no.
don't know how he does that, but
I think
Yeah,
with a
he's
lot of
awesome.
practice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did just a fabulous job. So yeah, please tell him from me. And excellent narration. And you're planning to have all the books, all three of them, or four if it ends up being four, you're planning to
Yeah.
have him be the narrator for all of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, because he's fantastic. Yeah, so congrats on that. I
Yeah, thank
think
you.
we'll talk more about that, but so that's really amazing. And the you will have the book available in a just regular old paperback for people who want
Yeah.
to just buy the paperback or the ebook or whatever or audiobook, which
Yep.
I recommend. But yeah,
Yeah, so the ebook and audio just launched on Kindle and Audible, and the physical copies, because of the way that we did the Kickstarter, I wanted to make sure that basically my promise to backers was you'll get whichever edition you get, you'll be the first to get it.
yeah,
And so they all got the ebook and audiobook a couple of months ago.
okay,
And so the book's been done and final, but the print run takes a while longer to come together. And so that we're still probably a couple months away from shipping those out to everybody. And so yeah, the physical copies will be a little bit behind the digital launch, but yeah, there'll be paperbacks and things available as well.
yeah. So you must have learned a lot in the process of doing all this. And of course, having done a couple before for your special editions probably helped a lot, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
And so I'd love to know, and I'm sure other people out there who and maybe some authors are watching this who are thinking about doing a Kickstarter. What are some things you've learned doing all these? And what tips would you give somebody? And we can get later into maybe a little bit of the logistics, but it sounds like a lot of planning to me.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pieces, and I think really dedicating the time to like if you do it just as kind of a side thing, I think you can there's a certain point that you can get with it, but I think there is kind of a trade-off in the time you invest and the money that you invest in things like campaign graphics and different things like that.
Yeah.
Certainly the visual elements are what sells the book because it's all mock-ups and things like that. And
Uh-huh.
so illustrations are a big thing, having a really, really professional looking everything basically.
Yeah. So being
Really,
willing to spend that money or get people to, and of course, did yours work this way where you have the more people who get on board, the more art you're able to offer, that kind of thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So they're called stretch goals where you basically have here's your baseline product. And if we can raise more money, we're
Okay.
going to incrementally add things on. And so with this one, I went because it was a brand new book and um, wasn't a full leather edition. I went um, on kind of the low end price wise for Kickstarter books
Hmm.
and started it with a more basic product like this this one will now have like a cloth bound um naked cover
Yeah.
and things like that, but we started with just we're going to have a hardcover. It's going to be like kind of a little bit more like your traditional hardcover, but it's going to have a few illustrations in it and some interior design and things like that. And then it was if we keep hitting these kind of benchmarks, these stretch goals, then we'll add more things. And so we ended up adding all these different features to it. That's like we're going to add foiling on the dust jacket and
Nice. Yeah.
embossing the letters and added we started with just regular sprayed edges like black ones and
Oh,
then added the designs later. And so
great.
over the course of the campaign there were a lot of things that were like we keep hitting these and people are excited and
Okay.
more people um as they see those features come, like definitely those edges once we were showing those off that we were close to adding those or not, people got pretty excited about that. And
Huh.
yeah, so having those those goals to keep knocking down as the campaign goes.
So that's essential, you would say, to doing this successfully is basically coming up with a series of goals and knowing the math, like, okay, this is going to cost so much, so we need this many people
Yeah.
participating in the Kickstarter. You had worked all that out ahead of time.
Yeah, yeah. And that was where having done a couple before, I think made it a lot easier to just go in and say, if we get to the even just in the pre-launch phase where like when I passed, we ended up having almost 700 people who followed the campaign before it launched. And when
Wow.
we got to 500, I was like, I think I can. That was when I added the audiobook on and like committed to that. I was like, I think based off of how many people convert to backers from my previous campaigns, I think I'll be able to cover those costs, which audiobooks are pretty expensive. And so that was just having that experience definitely made it easier to commit to different features and to have a get. You're only guessing for sure, but after you've done a couple, you start to see, okay, I can expect. And I also had people who had backed other campaigns as well, and so I knew I had like some returning backers were likely to to come over to this one and some things like
So this basically tells me that this is probably something like if you're a brand new author, you're putting your first book out there, this might not be the best idea because you've obviously this is your eighth book you've published.
yeah,
So you've got a following. You've got a certain number of people that were going to be on board day one, you know.
yeah.
So is this, am I wrong though? Or would you say to you'd have to have a little bit of get some experience in publishing first, and then maybe once you have enough of a following, then you can try a Kickstarter, or what's your advice on that?
Yeah, I think it just depends on what you're hoping to get out of it. I've seen debut authors do it. I've seen some do really well
Okay.
and raise quite a pretty significant amount of money and things like that. So it's not a. I think a lot of it comes back to the how much time do you have? Are you willing to take a little bit of a risk because um, if you don't invest a little bit of that money up front, then your threshold of like how far the campaign's going to go
Yeah.
kind of equates to that, the amount of time you're able to put in, the amount of promo, and and putting the money some money up front to cover some of those initial costs that maybe you would have done anyway, like a book cover and some things like that. But um,
So you do have to have some money up front. Now, you're not just putting it out there into the world and saying, "Hey, everybody, back me," and
yeah,
then we can do this and this and this. So where are you putting that upfront money? Where how does that come into play?
yeah. You can. There's definitely ways. I mean, as with anything, there's different tiers of cover artists and things like that. So
Uh,
if you're going to publish your first book, no matter what, there's people that go hire Jeff Brown on their first book
yeah.
and they've got the money and they want to spend it on that.
Although
And
they'd probably have to do it well in advance, I think, right?
yeah, at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've known people who've done that and other people who have invested a couple $100s in the cover. And if you're willing to put in the time, you can find some really talented artists in that lower price range.
Yeah.
And so some of it is how much is your time. Sometimes there's a trade-off of if you don't have a lot of time, you can find somebody really good. And if you book it out in advance, then you're going to be set to go.
How far in advance did you book your artists?
Um, Most of mine were so my cover artist was Joe Urqueza,
Yeah.
and I had worked with him on a couple of illustrations for my special editions. And so I
Okay.
was pretty easily able to the majority of the artists that I worked with on this, I'd been collaborating with for a couple of years.
Okay.
And so was just able to be like, okay, I want to do, I kind of just have with several of them have an ongoing conversation of
Yeah.
I'll be in touch in a couple months, or let's book this out a few months in advance. Or like I was just talking to Joe about doing the next cover for this one, and
Okay.
he's booked out through the rest of this year. And we're gonna get into that early next year. And so
Okay.
yeah, so this
You're
one,
having
so
these conversations.
it was probably at the time like a couple months in advance or something
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
Wow.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I know for Joe, like since we did this cover, he's done a ton of stuff and done a lot of covers for people, and he's getting more booked. And so, kind of with any of these, if somebody's really good and they're working with a few people, it starts to get out that hey, this person's really good, and they start to get more booked up. And so,
And that can be like a year or two in advance you need to book.
yeah, it can really start to get out there once somebody really,
Yeah.
uh, really gets rolling, which is awesome for. It's awesome to see these artists.
I'm just really happy personally. I just want to make a personal note that you are including artists and a narrator and other creatives in this in an age where it's so tempting to just go to AI and do it on
Yeah.
the cheap. Uh,
Yep.
I'm just so grateful and happy to see an author like yourself supporting and being in partnership with all these other creative people. How important is that to you to be supporting and working with other creatives?
Yeah, hugely important. That's one of the really special things about doing these is
Yeah,
getting to collaborate with really talented people, getting to see scenes that you've written brought to life in audio form or artistic form or all of these things, getting to support really great artists. And yeah, it's been really cool to see some of the people that I've worked with who've worked with a bunch of other authors and are now booking months in advance and things like that. And that's not just because of me, but tons of authors who are doing these. And
yeah,
yeah, it's a really cool partnership. It's great to be able to finance that in a way that everybody gets paid for what they're doing.
yeah,
And that's a really cool thing about Kickstarter, that you're able to bring on all these people and kind of just you get to, I mean, as an indie author, I know for myself, I'm always trying to, I want my books to be as comparable or even beyond what you would get from a traditionally published book.
yeah.
And Kickstarter is definitely a way that you can really crank up that quality a little bit if you're able to achieve that funding. And so
Oh, I could not agree more. In fact, I feel like a lot of the experimentation, a lot of the creativity is happening in the indie sphere, uh,
yeah.
much more than in traditional publishing these days. So,
Yeah.
yeah, not that they're not putting out some great stories too, but I feel like there's a little more, it's where kind of in the indie sphere is a little bit more the wild, wild west, where some
Yeah.
interesting things can happen and where you have
Right.
people who have this vision and it's uncompromised. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that's wonderful. And what would you would say to somebody, a newer author who is thinking about, oh, I can't afford all this art. I can't afford to hire an audiobook narrator. They're not cheap. You know, you're going to
No.
pay somewhere around a couple $100 at least per
Mhm.
finished hour,
Yep.
which that adds up. If your book is, 20 hours,
Yeah,
you can
especially
do
if
the
you write
math.
epic fantasy, it starts to add up real quick.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yep.
what would you say to somebody? Because you seem to have derived a lot of fulfillment from these partnerships and from collaborating with these incredibly creative people. What would you advise somebody who is in this position of, man, I just, I can't afford all this, or I could have an AI spit out a really cool cover, or I could have an AI do my audiobook narration. What would you say to people in that position?
Yeah. I I get that that's tempting.
Yeah,
Certainly we are for me, I think the biggest thing is just like I'm a creative person. I believe in the value of human created art. I think that's the only art there is. If it doesn't have that human element, then it loses something. And I think we already live in this in such of a like a digitized
Yeah.
kind of virtual space, and the more to me the human created arts are a huge thing worth holding on to. And as a writer, I certainly believe and want people to support human created books and think that there's no matter how good AI can get,
Right.
there's just a kind of a spirit and heart level to a book that um I don't think an AI can actually capture, and I hope that it can. I should say. And I think the same is true for art, that and some of that's even just connected to the the artist and the power of art that was created by a person and who has a vision and a story, and there's emotion that gets captured that is more powerful. And if to me, I only want to support human created art, and I think that it's something worth holding on to in our society. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I think long term that there's just bad repercussions. I think if we let ourselves go down that kind of the easier path or things like that. And I
Yeah.
know that that's that's easier for somebody like me to say, who's had these pretty successful Kickstarters and has
Yeah.
been able to fund a lot of artwork for my books and for characters and all these things. Um, and I get that it's challenging, especially you see more people starting to do that, and we all are looking at each other and um, comparing ourselves in one way or another, and trying to keep up and do things that other people are doing and that are going to be appealing to readers and buyers and collectors and all these things.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is don't forget what's at the heart of why you wanted to tell a story
Yeah.
and why you wanted to create something. And don't cheapen it. It Anybody that you see who's out there having some success, or almost all of them have been grinding for years to get
Yeah.
to a point, and then now you're seeing something that they've done that's doing pretty well.
They didn't just do it yesterday, wake up
Yeah.
yesterday and say, "Hey, I'm gonna put out a book." It's years
Yep.
of work, and that I
Yep. And
think,
there's lucky breaks and different things like that. And I think anybody who's honest will say that um, there's luck involved, and
sure,
we can't control that. But um, I think it's still worth keeping it, not taking the cheaper way out, not
yeah,
taking
yeah,
um, not taking the shortcut, I guess I should say, rather than the cheaper way. But
yeah,
um,
yeah,
to me, AI is a shortcut, and um, I think that there's repercussions. I think that it impacts your brand. I've heard many people say if I see an AI cover, then I can't trust that somebody actually wrote the book and
right,
things like that. And so you run that risk. And if that's, I mean, if that's a risk you're willing to take, I guess nobody can stop you. But I think people see the value of human created stuff. I think, and I think if
yeah.
you,
And this big secret, not really secret, but something that you and I both know is that the value isn't just in the product, in the finished book. It's in the whole process. You've talked about years of work. I bet you that you feel an incredible sense of fulfillment. And that is a result of you would not feel that fulfillment if you just had an AI create that book for you and an AI do the art. It would be an empty feeling.
yeah,
The fact that you put all this labor into this and this love and that you've collaborated with other people who put effort into bringing your story to life in these ways, To
Yeah,
me, that's part of the magic, actually.
absolutely.
Even if an AI can actually convince us that this is a human that who wrote the story, even if an AI
Yep.
can produce art that we can't tell the difference, to me, there's still that fundamental thing where there is the process, and that is something that we need as human beings.
Yeah,
Because without it, I think we lose our humanity. We need that creative process, you know.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, well, as we said, this story just didn't come out of nowhere. This is years of you working on this, and this is the product of you honing your craft over 7 previous books as well. And I think you've done a marvelous thing here with Children of the Gods. So we're going to start talking about it. We'll be non-spoiler, so that folks who haven't read it can stay with us. But I want to talk about it because I really had a good time, and this was a very, very impressive and well edited. I don't know if you work with an editor or not, but I felt like it was. Yeah, you do. Okay.
Sarah Chorn,
Okay. Oh, Sarah Chorin, very good. Yes, yes,
she's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know her personally, but I've interacted a little bit here and there on social media and
Yeah,
stuff. So and that's another creative person that is excellent to work with, because there's a whole back and forth that goes on between a writer and an editor, that if you just put your book into Chat GPT or something and said edit for me, you would miss on that process of, and it's a growing process as well.
it
Uh,
is. Yeah,
it really is. So I feel like that's an important thing to mention is let's love our editors too, because that's a really
it's more
important.
than just proofreading. Sometimes
Yeah.
people kind of reduce it to that, and yeah, there's so many kind of line by line things that or things that you do repeatedly that you realize, oh, I should be approaching this way, or
Yeah.
really focusing on sensory details more, or getting into this character's head more, or all these things that you then approach. Like I get my edits back and then I do another, and then it's a pretty in-depth pass after that of kind of addressing all of the, here's all the copy edits and stuff, and then it's, here's these comments that I got and here's this feedback, and then thinking, how does this apply to other places that maybe she didn't point out while going through it, but this is something that
Yeah.
um she was catching in several places, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that here, I could apply this in several other places.
Yeah.
And
So it's
yeah,
some developmental editing. Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah,
great. But yeah, let's talk about the book now.
yeah,
So
seven.
yeah, Children of the Gods, book one of Age of Fire, probably either a trilogy or a tetralogy, whichever. The more, the better.
Yeah,
But
we'll find out as I finish book two. I think by the end of book two I'll know for sure
okay,
where
okay.
we're, how many books it'll be, but I
Do you
planned it
have
for
any
a
idea
trilogy and
when book
got,
two when book two might be out? Any idea on that?
yeah, the sometime next year.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
2026.
My aim is, yeah, the Kickstarter will have, it'll launch from Kickstarter again. I'm tentatively aiming for like August or September.
Okay,
And I think that's going to be pretty reasonable to pull off. And
cool,
it'll
cool.
probably go live on Amazon and Audible by
Okay.
the end of next year.
Great. All right. So Dragon Rider, we've already said, but it's interesting because you take a lot of time for us to get to know the human characters in this
Mhm.
book. And now I see where the dragon writing thing is going to become more prevalent, I think, in the next book. But it's not the typical dragon writer narrative in that, young person acquires egg, there's an immediate bond, and that's the focus of the story.
Yeah.
Here, we've got some major machinations. We've got political stuff going on. We've got a world where you have the Attican Empire, which in some ways reminds me of the Roman Empire. It's not an exact correspondence, but if I were to say what's the major inspiration here, I would guess Roman. You tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. I mean, the emperor's name is Athanasius. That sounds pretty Roman, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. But this empire is acquisitive, like empires tend to be, and it has a storied history, as it were, with some ups and downs, and currently trying to be very much in charge of its neighbors and former colonies and reasserting itself and its power, which is always a very dangerous thing when you have a former power trying to live up to its glorious past, that sort of thing. And you have, as I said, major political machinations. The betrayals in here had me spinning. I mean, it was really, you caught me by surprise several times in here. It was about a third of the way through the book when I'm like, yeah, I like these characters. This is cool. I'm enjoying myself. This is good writing. And then suddenly all hell broke loose. It was like, what the? Whoa, wait a second. I did
Yeah,
not see that coming. So congratulations on that. That's just
yeah, thank you.
now the Atticans are a major portion of this, but you've also got the Faltari, who are a much more isolated people living in a kind of a idyllic existence in some ways. In some ways, not entirely. There's a dirty secret here that is part of what their existence rests upon. But these characters, you've got some really good characters living in this kind of somewhat naive, you could say, idyllic existence, and they're going to be playing a major role here. I'm not going to say anything because that would be too spoilery, but they're part of the secret behind their existence is going to be a very important plot point in the book, let's say. And then you've got certain characters who are trying to rebel against this empire that is very acquisitive. So you've got that narrative as well. You've got rebels of various kinds, and some of the main characters, Ava being a preeminent POV character from that camp. But yeah, you've got. I mean, those are the three main threads, I guess, as it were, as I
Yeah.
thought of it, as I was experiencing the story. But within that, you've got a lot of really great characters. I particularly loved Reese. I was very happy to see her arc, and what you were, and where I think it's going, at least. You keep surprising me, so maybe I'm wrong. But I thought that was great, and the friendship in there was really important. One of the things I want to congratulate you to is that you've written some really convincing friendships in here. There's a little bit of romance as well, so congratulations on achieving that and to successfully weaving in a bit of romance in your epic fantasy is not always an easy thing to do, right?
Yeah, you got a lot of things going on, and so
Yeah,
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 it can be
yeah.
challenging. But
But the friendships just absolutely won me over. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, particularly among the Faltari. But yeah, you have some young. There is a coming of age element to this, I guess you could say. I mean, literally, we are witnessing in the very beginning a rite of passage here, a rite of passage that has huge repercussions for this world, but it's unique to these Faltari. And that was your starting point, really, was this rite of passage. I thought that was a really cool way to get us into the world, just real up close with these characters in a situation of high pressure. So we can see a lot about their characters. You expose a lot of their characters in these moments of crisis as they go through this rite of passage. So was that your initial idea? Was it, I'm going to start off with this rite of passage in order to allow my reader to really get to know these characters, some of these central characters under some high pressure situations?
yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a I I really wanted to begin kind of the I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the in media res.
Yeah, yeah, you are. Yeah,
That's I never really started a book off quite that way, where we're just starting in the middle of it, and the kind of initial vision that I had was they're climbing these floating mountains, the spires,
yeah. That's
and
wild. That's
I had
wild.
tons of questions.
We
I
don't know
don't know
why they're
if those
flying.
things,
We don't know where they're going.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think as a writer, you learn to trust your reader a little more, and you're more willing to do something like starting in medias res.
yeah,
So yeah, cool. Yeah,
yeah. So definitely starting with a point of of high conflict, high challenge, and all
Yeah.
these things was uh, a great way to introduce those kind of our two core characters, Malik and Reese, and
Alec and Reese. Yeah. Yeah.
see how they respond to opportunities to help themselves, help each other, um, encountering other people who are struggling on their rite of passage, and how
Yeah.
they respond to that.
And how you
And
respond to that, because not everybody is going to be collaborative. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
Some want to be in first place, you know.
Yeah.
So there are characters that you immediately take a liking to, and some that you realize, oh, that guy's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
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 But no, it's brilliant, and it's also a way for you to begin to show the reader the magic of this world, isn't it? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was really great. There was just an element of spirit to this, to put it one way, right?
Yeah.
That it's like the essence all around these characters, and they imbibe this, and it's just part of their existence in a way.
Mhm.
Particularly the Faltari. So there's a
Yeah.
history. You get to realize very quickly that there are layers of history. And one of the things I thought was brilliant about the book was that the various cultures that you introduce in this world all have a different version of the founding of this world,
Yeah.
which is so true about history, isn't it? We all have our lenses through which we see the world. We distort what happened in the past through those lenses, and we make it fit our own narrative in so many ways.
Yeah.
And the truth may not be even something we can decipher. So
Mhm.
that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a really that's definitely something that I think about in the real world and as I study history and mythology and these things. And it was really fun to that was really what I wanted to flesh out as I was getting into this world was how each country, each nation, each people understands the world in a slightly different way, and the what actually happened, we're talking thousands of years ago, and
Right.
everybody has their own version of the big event, the crossing, where
Right.
um, which is a bit of a mysterious event, and really by the end of the book is still mysterious, but it's very much an origin point, and they all talk about having come from somewhere else, um, and exactly what triggered that, and where it happened, and why it happens, and there's a connection to dragon eggs there as well, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
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 kind of it's a big mystery at the kind of core of their history and mythology, and
and it's an admirable example of how you can make world building an essential part of the plot, actually. Because the whatever happened in the past is actually really important for what the characters are going through in the present. Like
yeah,
there are certain things they need to find out, and
yeah,
there's an incomplete picture that each culture has of what happened in the past,
yeah,
because it's been watered down or changed or whatever the narrative has altered from those times. But whatever happened may actually be vitally important for what's happening in the present. So
yeah,
that's an element of mystery that in there that I thought was just great.
yeah. And then at the same time, how much of that is important, as opposed to how does your understanding of whatever that is shape how you're acting now and the person that you are now.
Yeah.
And that was a tension that I want that I don't know that I wanted, but it came out in in the book, was just you can obsess over something like that, and some of the characters do, as and really hold to it, and maybe you're right and maybe you're not, but um the way that the stories that we tell shape our actions, and the things that we believe shape our actions now, was also
Yeah.
Important element of that of those stories too.
We very much see that play out among, let's talk a little bit about the Attican characters. So you've got
Mhm.
Urla, who is an extremely, the Bloody Mother, as she's called
Yeah.
affectionately by her troops. And she's experienced a recent devastating loss, which adds, I think, a whole other layer to her character. But she's an example of she's works for the Empire, you know.
Mhm.
Congratulations as well on getting my sympathies on, I was like, there are times when I'm like, wait, I like both these characters, but they're about to kill each other, so what do I do,
Yeah.
That's really great that you could do that in here. But Urla is part of this empire, and she's very much convinced of her role in this empire and of its rightness, the rightness of what she's doing, and her loyalties are very much a product of her, let's say, patriotism,
Yeah.
and her whole vision of herself is very much wrapped up in the success of her empire.
Yeah.
And yet her worldview does get questioned by events. She encounters things that and it's a really fascinating journey to watch. And then, of course, she has her son Ruin, who believes that he's going to follow a certain path, or we think he is, or his mother thinks he is, and this is all up in the air, in so many ways. And then you've got plots within plots here because this is an empire. There's General Compass, who plays a very interesting role as a liaison between the Attican Empire and the Faltari. You've got his plans, which you're never really sure about because you've got within an empire like this, an acquisitive empire. There's a tendency for people to become tools of a sort. And you may think you're an important person within this empire, but to somebody above you, you're kind of a tool, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's all really well explored in here, I think. That you've got this empire with people who believe they have a right to be in charge and that they are superior to the cultures that they are conquering, and they deserve to conquer these other cultures. And yet there are things that we can see where the characters it may take some extra convincing to keep telling themselves this narrative, right? So I thought that was really great, and a vital part of the storytelling. And then, of course, where you have this kind of a power, this imperial acquisitive power in the Atticans, you're going to have rebels. You're going to have people who have been hurt by this empire. Many, because in the process of acquiring territory, they're conquering people, they're killing people, they're destroying whole cultures.
Yeah.
And many of those cultures are not particularly happy about it, although they may have to pretend to be part of the empire. They're biding their time, so the characters, I don't know if I should say their names because that's a bit of a surprise at times. So I'm not going to spoil that. But
Yeah, no, that's fine.
yeah, there are rebel characters in here who also have one of the things I think you do really well is you give your characters inner conflict,
Mhm.
right? So if you're a rebel hiding within the empire, you have to pretend to have ties to the empire. You have to pretend to like people who are the conquerors. But in the process, you get to know them as people, don't you? And you may
Mhm.
actually form real ties to some of these people.
Yeah.
So that introduces some complexity into your situation. You have the one loyalty to your cause, and you may go a long time without being in touch with these your fellow rebels, and in the process, you form attachments to some of the people you're spying on or trying to get information from or using even in order to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's an invitation for some really cool character exploration. Was that something you thought about ahead of time? Like, yeah, this is going to be a cool way for me to get some conflict into my characters.
Yeah, I wanted to early on in the writing of the book, I knew I wanted a character from each side. And
Uh-huh.
that's something that I've always really enjoyed exploring and that I always find really fascinating in books is when you see it from somebody's eyes on that side. And having all of their fates kind of intertwine in the book was really interesting to explore. Just like anytime that you truly engage with somebody's humanity, even when you see them as an enemy or somebody that you disagree with, or all these things. Once you get to know somebody, it's harder, and that was something that I don't know if I necessarily set out to explore that, but definitely as I was getting into it, and um, yeah, of course, if you're living in really close proximity to some people and you encounter some goodness there, that's going to cause some questions. It's going to cause some inner conflict as to I'm still on my side, but I care about this person, or I don't think they're all bad, or I'm not sure where they're at, or
Yeah.
these things that yeah, anytime that you really dive deeper into the humanity of other characters, that's always something that I find really interesting in stories, and that was definitely something that I found myself exploring in the writing of this book. Was um I definitely set out wanting all of them to feel very human, very having motivations and beliefs, and finding ways to really throw a wrench in that. And really, everything that happens on the Isle of Faltara is kind of generating that. Is everybody in one every character at one point or another, and really often throughout, is confronted with some kind of conflict to what they've held to be true
Yeah. Yeah.
for their life up to this point. And this island and this the conflict that happens here is really like the point that changes everything for all of them. That um and
Yeah.
that idea was really as I was writing it, that I just kind of kept pulling on that, like how can this be more the thing that kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back for each character.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. There's
and
great
then how are
drama.
they going to come out of that?
There's great drama that results from that world shattering. You've been challenged on so many levels, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing what you thought was the truth is not just incomplete, but actually inaccurate in many ways.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. I mean, that's really good character writing when you're able to have that kind of inner conflict and all of that. So congrats on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm dancing around a lot of things because I don't want to include spoilers in here, but I really enjoyed myself. The listen was fantastic. Can't say enough about the audiobook narration. Just absolutely top level. Great stuff. And the book itself, we're at a point where I feel like at the end of book one we're gonna get into some really epic stuff. We're gonna get into some more of the dragon riding part of this dragon rider fantasy.
Yep.
We see dragons in the first book, that's for sure, and they're pretty terrifying. But I think they're going to be. I'm predicting. You don't have to tell me whether I'm wrong or not, but I'm predicting they're going to be a much bigger part
Yeah.
of book two. So.
Yeah, definitely book one is more because the all of the dragons are at the beginning of the book, they are Attican.
They're under
They
the control of the Empire.
have
It's a big part of their
control.
power. Yeah.
That's how they're in power, is because of their dragon mounts. And so it was really kind of a how do other people get these dragon eggs and bond with them, and how's that going to happen? And yeah, it definitely it doesn't jump right into that. I kind of think there's a couple of types of dragon stories, and one is you get the egg, you bond, and you're a dragon rider at the beginning,
Boom.
and and that takes 50 pages or something, and then we're rocking and rolling.
Right.
And definitely this one isn't that. It takes its time getting to that point. um, and maybe it's just coming from that epic fantasy side of things where every character is not gonna be a writer, and there's lots of things that have to happen to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
Cool. And the magic, I feel like we've learned a lot more by the end of the book about the magic, but there's so much more to learn, I think, at the same time. But I love
yeah,
how you've rooted the magic in many ways in the characters' sense of connection to the world. You know, there's a deeply
yeah,
spiritual and mystical side of this magic. But we see this a lot, especially in the character Malik and his father Yoren, who is a shaman for his people, for the Faltari.
yeah,
Um, that was really cool. Were there any particular inspirations for you behind the magic of this world?
yeah. It was definitely for the Faltari, which is probably the main. They see magic in a way and access magic in a way that basically nobody else in their world does, kind of a more complete way, where
There's this thing called Hish, right?
yeah, yep,
That is like it. How would you translate that word for us? Because I think it's what it is.
yes. Yeah, so it's the breath of the gods. That's how they view it, and it really is like a spiritual air to them. That's like, this brings life to everything.
Uh-huh.
This is a part of everything and a part of us, and we can draw it in into their spirit. They view the spirit as like an organ, basically,
Yeah.
that can hold magic, and that you can practice magic and grow in the ability and things like that. And so the definitely the breath of the gods idea was very central to the Faltari, that they swear by God's breath. They
Yes. Importantly, yeah.
yeah, and they view everything in that light of. Sorry, I've got a kid
Oh,
tapping at
it's
the
okay.
door here.
That's,
If you're hearing that, I'm
I
gonna
love kids.
tell them
I
to go
love
upstairs real
puppies.
quick.
Bring them all on. That's fine. So, yeah, no, but we're nearing the end of our discussion anyway. So we'll
No,
let you.
that's fine. They're outside, and then one must have ventured in
Oh, okay.
and started pounding on the door. So
Oh, that's great.
Saturday afternoon,
It's
but
all good. Yeah.
we're good now.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
But yeah, the breath of the gods is a central idea, and
Yeah.
just tried to really, I yeah, definitely the spiritual nature for them was um very tied in a way that I probably haven't explored magic quite the same way in other books I've written. Um, that's really just tied to their culture and the way that they view it,
Yeah.
and where other cultures might view it more in a more kind of mechanized way or something like that,
More exploitative,
more of
maybe.
a
Yeah.
yeah, more of a tool or something, and they
Yeah.
very much see it as a spiritual thing, an essence
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Oh, that's
thing.
lovely. Yeah. All right. Well, I could talk much more, but we'd have to get into spoilers, and I don't want to do
Yeah,
that because. But I do want to encourage people to check out. Children, could you hold up that beautiful version
yeah.
again, if you have it, Stephen?
There we go.
Children of the Gods, by S.A. Klopfenstein, and is it too late for people to get into the Kickstarter now, or is
No, yeah. So there are these physical editions available. Like I said, we ordered a lot of extras, and there's a late backer store. So if you were to go to Kickstarter and look up Children of the Gods, there's a link there that will take you
I'll put a link in the
to my
description as well.
website or any social media, and there's a link to it. And
Uh,
yeah, it'll just say pre-order. But yeah, same book. And you can get paperbacks as well. We've got a paperback version that'll be coming, and
Nice.
um, if you order that, it'll be signed as opposed to the Amazon version. So
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
paperback person, then
Where do people
some-
access the paperback version that's signed?
uh, the same place. Yeah,
Okay.
the paperbacker store, and eventually I'll switch those over to just my website. But
Okay.
for right now, it's easier to keep them all in one place. And
Okay.
I work
All
with a
right.
distributor who handles all of the shipping and things like that. And so,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll put a link to that Kickstarter then in the description so people can easily get there.
perfect.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Stephen, on what you've accomplished here. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I really enjoyed Children of the Gods tremendously. I think you've done something great there. And I wish you all the success with it.
thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to chat and to listen to the book. And yeah, it's fun to chat with you. So I've
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoyed your channel for a long time. So it's fun to, and I feel like we've interacted a bit on social and
Yep.
things like that. But
Yep.
it's fun to actually sit down and have a conversation, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll do it in person someday.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of those conventions or other. We
Yeah.
get to geek out even more. But we'll
Yes.
settle for this for now. So this is it for us for now, everybody. Do check out S.A. Klopfenstein's books. There is again going to be a link in the description to the Kickstarter for you to check out Children of the Gods. He's got other books as well, though, that you might want to check out. Got this series here. All right, here's the Shadow Watch.
Yeah, we've got the Shadow Watch saga, and yeah, those are actually connected to the world of the Children of the
Oh,
Gods.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, there's some things if you've read all of them that connect, but they're totally independent series. But uh,
Okay.
there's
Okay.
some things about that connect to various aspects of the lore and things like that. So
Oh,
this Children of the Gods is set thousands of years apart from the Shadow Watch books, but there
okay.
are some things that um, get kind of expanded upon, or that there's an origin element to Children of the Gods because
Ah,
it happens first. Um, but
wow. So you
it's
spent some
also one that you don't have to have read anything else to to read, and you could not know that they're connected, and you would get you'd get the full experience
but you have spent some
of the
time
gods. But
you spent some time in this world, clearly. Yeah.
yeah, and that probably made it a little easier in some of the world building elements
Wow. Yeah.
to draw or expand upon some things.
Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean it this time. We're saying goodbye, but thank you so much. And until next time.
Till next time.